Hi guys, welcome back to the Bird Photography Show with Glenn Bartley.
Hello.
And me, Jan Wegener.
We hope you guys enjoyed the last episode, and we want to thank you guys so much for those of you who decided to support the show and buy us a coffee. We really appreciate it. But even if you don't do that, just by liking and sharing the video with other people, that really helps us out. It gets more people to see the show, and it grows our community of bird photographers. So thanks so much.
Totally, we really appreciate your support, and today we want to talk about a lot of our favorite things when it comes to bird photography. So the obvious one might be, what's your favorite bird to shoot, Glenn?
I've actually never been asked that before. You know, it never comes up.
Oh, really?
No, everyone always asks you, what's your favorite bird? And I'm gonna be a little bit cheeky here, and I'm gonna cop out a little bit, and I'm gonna go with my favorite family of birds, which if you know me and my photography, you probably know are hummingbirds. I love hummingbirds. I think they're so amazing. I've loved them since I was a kid. I just think they're so beautiful and amazing, you know, just fascinating creatures. The way they fly, their metabolism, their iridescence, and a lot of people don't know this. Actually, let's see if Jan knows. How many species of hummingbirds do you think there are, Jan, in the world?
500.
500 is a little high. There's actually 360 something odd species
I
of
was gonna
hummingbirds.
say 400. I was gonna say 400, and then I thought there has to be more.
Well, even at 360, that's the second largest family of birds in the world. So there's a lot of diversity, but they're all in the Americas. So they're from basically, you know, they're in North America, Central America, and South America. There's no hummingbirds in Africa. There's no hummingbirds in Europe or Australia. Anyways, hummingbirds are amazing. I just love them so much. So that's gonna be my answer, is the beautiful but tiny hummingbird.
We can't let him get off this easy, can we? There has to be a few names at least, like a top 3 maybe or something.
There's some stunning ones. Like, I'm always enamored with the ones that have, like, you know, crazy like ornamentation. Like hummingbirds are, you know, famous for having, you know, these crazy crests or these super long tails. Hummingbirds like the marvelous spatule tail that has this incredibly long tail with these 2 little balls, and it can move them around. Some of them have these big puffy boots. So, okay, if you make me say a couple names, I'm gonna say red-tailed comet, that's a stunner, and maybe one of the coquettes. Let's go with the black-crested coquette.
So Glenn, if there's someone who has just a hummingbird feeder that a lot of people have in their yard, or they maybe have a neighbor who has it, what's like the top thing or the easiest way to get some nice photos? Can you just put a perch next to the feeder, for instance, and they will land on it? Or do they fly in from like far away?
You could try that, but I think when in most people's backyards, when the hummingbirds are in, you know, fairly low density, they're probably not going to land if you stick a perch right there, unless you see that they already land on, like, you know, some fence post or something, and then you could put like a beautiful little perch and they might take to that one. But they probably, if in a backyard setting, they'd probably just come in, feed, and then fly off, would be my guess. Instead, what I would probably do, if they're already coming to like a hummingbird feeder, find ideally a natural flower, and what you can do is the same sugar water solution that you would put in the feeder, you can get like a little syringe and take some of that and put it into the flower and place that really close to your feeder. So if this is my feeder and the little ports are here, I might put the flower just right next to it. That way, the next time the little hummingbird comes back, if you put a little piece of tape over the actual feeder ports, he's gonna come and kind of look around, and then he's almost certainly gonna try the flower. And you're there, waiting and ready with a good background, nice light, snap off some pictures, and then when he flies off, you can open up the ports again so that the next time he comes, he gets a really good feed. But that's probably your best bet to really nail a great hummingbird shot. Let's turn it over to Jan. What is your favorite bird?
To me, there was always one bird I've always found quite fascinating, and that was the Gengang cockatoo with its grey plumage and then the crazy red feathers on the head. Even when I was just living in Europe and I haven't really seen them in real life, I always found them quite fascinating. When I came here to Australia, I really wanted to get photos of them, but it wasn't quite easy because they're just here, there, everywhere kind of thing. But then I learned that every sort of late summer they come into the parks in Melbourne because they eat these little hawthorn berries.
Okay.
And so I started to go around, look for all these birds. Eventually I found like a really good park, and then there was a few of these birds, and to my surprise really, when they start feeding on these berries, you can almost touch them, like they lose sort of all sense of fear, and you can get probably within a meter of them. And that's just such an amazing experience now, to be able to be that close to such a unique and special bird. And so over the years, every time this time comes around, you can go there and just take a lot of cool images. And this is also where I really started to like having this 100 to 500 millimeter lens this year, because in the past I've been mainly using my 600 millimeter prime lens, but then I was really restricted to waiting for the bird to like climb onto the top of the bush. I had to stand way back, so it was very limited. So now having a shorter zoom lens actually allowed me to get amongst the bushes and get a lot more shots. And to me, I don't really know what it is, but I think it's a combination of the bird being really cool, but also the shooting experience that you're getting when you're photographing the bird, because it's quite rare that you have a really special bird that lets you get really close to them, and you can spend hours with them sometimes.
Yeah, that's cool. And for those of you who watched our last episode, Jan touched on several points that we touched on in how to become a better bird photographer. So why don't you guys let us know down in the comments, what key things did Jan just talk about that was also in our last episode? Let's see if you guys were paying attention and learning how to become a better bird photographer. Now, Jan,
Exactly.
we talked about what is our actual favorite bird, and I think both of us brought up birds that we've actually seen and photographed. What about a bucket list bird? What about a bird or a nemesis bird? What about something that you've not seen or really been dying to photograph?
I think I have to pick another cockatoo. I think it's the last one that I haven't seen or photographed, and that would be the amazing palm cockatoo, the big black cockatoo with the gigantic beak, the red face patch, and the biggest ever sort of crest. Like quite a unique cockatoo, quite different to all the other cockatoos. And they only live in Australia on just this Cape York Peninsula, right on the tip basically. And so I've been trying to go there for years, but now with all the COVID stuff, that has not happened at all. So I'm definitely itching to go there and get some shots, because I think it's just such an amazing bird. What about you? Is there one for you? You say, that one I got to get?
I mean, there's so many stunning birds, but I have to say that there's something about those birds of paradise in Papua New Guinea that, after we've all seen the crazy footage of the little guy dancing around in David Attenborough's movies, and there's something about that would be pretty amazing to see and photograph someday. Honestly, I'm going to cop out again, and I don't even care which birds of paradise. It would just be so cool to go. I really hope someday it'll be possible for me to go to Papua New Guinea, spend a few weeks, and try to photograph some of those amazing birds of paradise.
No, that would be awesome for sure. And seems like you have commitment issues.
Yeah, okay, when it comes to birds, sure.
So Glenn, talking about favorite things, is there something that you always have with you that you can't live without?
I mean, I guess you mean like in the field, or just like all the time? Like something I just can't, oh, you mean like this?
Yeah.
Like this amazing fanny pack? I always have it with me.
Exactly, something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, when I'm in the field, I always pretty much have this like giant, in North America we call them fanny packs, but actually in England that is not the best descriptor. They call them bum bags. I don't know what they call them in Germany, but anyways. This thing is, for me, like my favorite field accessory. I always have it with me. It's actually the top of a low pro backpack that I have. And it's like amazing how much stuff you can fit in this when you're in the field. So typically I actually don't carry a big backpack if I'm just out for like a day's shoot or a small shoot. I just bring this. It's got all the things I need. So this fanny pack is my go-to random accessory. What about you, Jan? What's one random thing that you like to have with you?
Well, it's something that I wanted to have for a long time, but actually didn't have for a while. And now I'm asking myself, well, didn't I buy one much earlier? I could have gotten so much cool footage, and that's my drone. Because
Yeah.
I don't know when I got it, maybe a year and a half ago, or even just a year ago. And even in that short period of time with all the COVID restrictions, I've already been able to capture so much really nice video footage, especially. And it's just such a cool thing because it gives you a completely new perspective. Like even when you're driving just through the outback and when you're down there, you just see scrubs and bushes, you go up and suddenly you see there's like patterns. I just really enjoyed having this different perspective in my videos and photos, and I just think it's really cool. I know drones are a bit controversial and you have to be careful where you fly. Definitely don't fly anywhere near nesting birds, and I had the odd magpie attack my drone as well. Some birds don't like it, so you always have to be very careful where you fly. But if you use it just in a remote place, there's no one else, no birds really around, then it's just a fantastic tool to get a completely new perspective that you can't get any other way.
I mean, it adds so much to the videos. Like when you're talking about being in a habitat, you can really get a much better appreciation of the habitat. Okay, what about, aside from just random accessories like drones and fanny packs, what about like one traveling accessory that you just can't leave home without? What do you think for that category?
Well, I'll take this drone with me, but I've also bought something not that long ago. I was looking for a small tripod that can be a sturdy secondary tripod on my travels that could hold like a remote camera, or if I wanted to use my 100 to 500, that it could hold that, or hold a camera in the field that's filming me. And I looked at so many tripods, it was crazy. I looked at that Peak Design tripod that folds down to this tiny, tiny size. But then whenever I saw the tests, I'm like, this just looks really, really flimsy. And then I bit the bullet and went for this more expensive Gitzo one. This is a Series 2 GT2545 tripod, and you could see it folded down pretty small, and then in the field,
oh yeah,
it's nice and small. It comes with a nice sturdy ball head, and it goes up to almost like my eye height when I'm using it. So I'm pretty happy with that, and it's definitely something that's going to travel with me everywhere, and actually solved a big problem because I just didn't have a secondary tripod that I could take with me that was sturdy enough. I had cheaper tripods, but then if I'm trying to film with a 100 to 500, it was just so much shake in it, it just didn't work. So this does the job perfectly, and it's definitely one of my favorite accessories now. What about you? Is there like one travel item that always comes with you?
To be honest, you're looking at it. I had this giant laptop before I got this one. It was so brutal to travel with. I can't believe actually how long I stuck with that laptop, flying on all these flights, traveling around the world, like, 6-8 trips a year, lugging this thing around. It had horrible battery life. It was just such a brick and so annoying to use. And when I decided finally it was time to upgrade, I got this beautiful Lenovo. It's basically like the PC version of like a MacBook Air. It's so thin, it's so light and small. It has amazing battery life. It has a really good screen, which is of course important if you want to be able to like look at your images and have the colors be kind of accurate, or if you want to do some editing on your laptop while you're traveling. So for me, I need a laptop that I can at least look at my photos and enjoy them and maybe do some processing. And if you guys are processing your photos, I know some people who only have a laptop, you're definitely going to want to get one that has a good screen that can display colors accurately. That's super important. And if you guys want to take your photo editing to the next level, be sure to check out Jan's and my video tutorials and ebooks down in the description.
It looks like you're actually not going far from your favorite things. You're wearing your fanny pack, you're sitting right next to your laptop, so they're really your favorite things. And what about you guys? I'm actually looking for a new laptop right now, and I find it pretty difficult to find the right model. So maybe you can let us know in the comments, are you using laptops, and what's like your favorite model?
All right, Jan. So what about your favorite moment or experience that you've ever had in the field?
One moment I remember that almost involves you as well was in Perth 2019 when we were both speaking at the BirdLife conference, and that was literally the last time I was out photographing properly. So, and there was this one bird that I really wanted to get in Western Australia, and that was this amazing red-capped parrot. And I remember going out multiple mornings in a row, and there was one spot that I found that had these really cool red and white flowers and a few dead trees next to it. So I was standing there and basically had given up all hope. And then for some reason, just two of these male birds were flying in, and first in a dead tree. And so I started snapping away, and then big amateur mistake, both of my memory cards in my camera were full.
Oh man.
So I'm standing there with the bird right in front of me. I'm like in like slow motion trying to somehow take one memory card out, put it in my pocket, open the little pack that I have with memory cards in my pocket, get another one out, get it back in, and I managed to do that. So I got a few more shots, and then a bicycle rider comes along, and I swear it's literally the steepest hill ever. It was like this. And so someone comes along with the bicycle, spooks all the birds. And
Classic.
So I really thought I didn't get any shots, because even afterwards I was telling you, I don't think I got anything. And only when I came home to the computer, I saw that while I was snapping the bird, one of them flew onto the flower. So I took some shots, and then I was out of cards. And then for some reason, there was like 2 shots on one card and all the other shots on the other card. So only when I downloaded all my cards, I saw, oh, I actually got one shot. So in the field, it was actually quite frustrating because I thought I didn't get anything, but it was probably the biggest adrenaline rush that I had in a long time, because it was that bird that I wanted so badly, because it's such a special parrot, and parrots are the number one for me. So getting a new one there, and such a spectacular one, was such a big moment. So while I was there, I was really rushing, and then afterwards you think you don't get anything, but then you do get a photo in the end. So that was a pretty special moment in the end.
And that's one of those birds, having been there and like actually spent time with it, that they're like, you see them around for sure. And they're just taunting you, like flying by, landing somewhere like way up in a tree, but to actually get like an opportunity for a clean shot. And I thought that I got some pretty good ones, and then I was like, ooh, I got one nice parrot that Yan doesn't even have, and because you told me you didn't get any, and then I get home and I see on Instagram like, what? So you definitely beat me on that one.
No, but I think you did really well as well. And at that time I saw your shots. I hadn't even downloaded mine, so I'm like, damn it.
The competition is always on.
Is there a story that you remember where you go like, the adrenaline was pumping, the bird was coming in, you were getting the photos?
On most trips that I go on, usually I'll go on like 3 to 4 week trips somewhere and try to like create an interesting portfolio from that country or that place. And there's very often like that one moment. But one that really stands out to me was from, I want to say like 2011. I was in Peru in like a fairly like, I wouldn't say remote, but like definitely like off the beaten path. And there was a kind of a new lodge, and there was this sort of like mythical little owl species that was being seen there. The bird hadn't even been described to science until like, I think it was like the 1970s. So like this bird is very secretive. They misnetted one in like the 70s, and then no one saw one for like 30 years. So super elusive, super rare bird, and very, very little known about it. But people were starting to see it occasionally at this one site.
Oh, wow.
So my friend who I was traveling with and I decided we'd go for it. So it was like, as we were like getting our gear ready, you start hearing like thunder off in the distance. And I was like, oh, great. Like, this is not going to go well. We hike down this ravine, down this trail. It's like a decent trail down into the darkness. The rain is starting to fall. And I'm just like, oh my God, what are we doing down here?
Yeah.
So we're standing around, and its call is like very not owl-like. It's almost like a frog's call. So you're hearing this thing, and then the guy from the lodge that we were with, the local guide, was like, "That's the call." And then I was like, "Wow, this makes sense. Why nobody ever found or saw this bird for so long? Because it doesn't sound like a bird at all." Anyways, we started realizing that it was coming in and it was coming closer. And then all of a sudden the guide is like, turn the light on. And we turn the light on and the thing is sitting like right in front of us in this open branch. And it was just like you described, where you think it's going to be taken away from you. Because from where I was, my friend was clicking away. And from where I was, I had a branch right in front of the bird. And I was just like, but I couldn't move. I was like, I can't move and flush this bird from my friend until at least I feel like he's gotten a couple shots off. And then I carefully snuck around behind him and just everything worked out and got definitely the best shots that were of that species at the time. I don't know if someone's gotten better ones by now, but amazing experience with the long-whiskered owlet. Okay, well, let's do a few last favorites before we cap off this episode. So Jan, why don't you tell us, what is your favorite photo destination that you've ever been, and also the favorite place that you've never been?
It's an interesting one. The favorite place I've never been to, but there's definitely places that I would like to visit, and I hope that they will become my favorite places. And one of those, for some reason, is probably St. Paul Island, just in the middle of the Bering Sea, just because it seems so crazy. So somehow I think that would be pretty cool, just to go out there in the middle of nowhere. And there's this weird crabbing show like on TV, and you always see them go to like that harbor, and it just seems completely crazy. So I think that would be a cool place to tick off on the bucket list. And in terms of favorite places, I will probably have to say Australia, just because there's so many awesome parrots. The only place in the world that has cockatoos, and parrots, and especially cockatoos, are probably my favorite family, and the gang cockatoos in particular. So for me, that's just a dream come true, to be able to go outside, have rainbow lorikeets in my backyard, have eastern rosellas in my backyard, go somewhere where I can't go right now, but go there. There's lorikeets coming out of the trees, and there's parrots everywhere you go, basically. So that's what makes it really special for me. All those little finches in the north, like those Golden finches, it's some pretty crazy birds here. What about you? Is there a favorite place you've never been to?
I have to say, I've always been wanting to go to Africa someday and photograph some of the African birds. I don't even know the families or the species that well, because almost all of my photography has been done basically in the New World, in the North and South America, and a bit in Australia. But someday I think it'd be really cool to visit like each continent.
For sure.
And I think it would be really cool. There's some of the sunbirds and the just really interesting other families of birds would be cool. And as far as favorite place that I actually have been, I'm always happy when I'm in the tropical Andes. So, sort of Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, in that beautiful range from sort of, I have to say, down in the lowlands, it's really interesting, but it can be very challenging because it's so hot and humid and giant forests.
Yeah.
So those sort of middle elevation forests from sort of like 1,000 meters above sea level to like 3,000 meters, that's probably my favorite place to spend time photographing birds. Well, guys, that just about wraps up this episode of our favorite things. We hope you've enjoyed the episode. And if you did, feel free to buy us a coffee if you want to support the show, all the filming and editing and posting and everything. And if not, no worries. You can just like the video and share it with a few friends.
Absolutely, because that will also help us and the algorithm to see that it's good content, more people get to see it, and it helps us to get a few more views. So we really appreciate your support. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as well, and we see you in our next show very soon. Bye.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you soon.